6 months of peace felt like a dream Zara was afraid to wake from. The penthouse that once echoed with loneliness now rang with children's laughter every morning. Amara and Zuri raced through hallways, their footsteps a symphony of joy. Dimitri had transformed, trading his tailored suits for casual shirts, his cold calculations for bedtime stories. Every evening he'd cook dinner while Zara helped the twins with homework, and for the first time in either of their lives, normal felt like a gift worth protecting. But paradise always has a price, and theirs was about to come due. Welcome back to Afro-Korean Tales, viewers. This is it, the finale you've been waiting for. Episode 4 will test everything our characters have built and reveal secrets that will change everything you thought you knew about this story. Make sure you're subscribed because you won't want to miss a single moment of this conclusion. It started with small things. A photograph slipped under their door showing Zara at the market with the twins. No note, just the image. Then Dimitri's car alarm going off at 3 a.m., yet security footage showed nothing. The twins began having nightmares, both waking up screaming about a man with sad eyes watching them from the shadows. Dimitri doubled security, but the unease grew like a tumor. One afternoon, while Dimitri was at a business meeting trying to legitimize his remaining assets, a woman appeared at their door. She was tall, professional, with kind eyes that looked hauntingly familiar. "Detective Sarah Okonkwo," she said in English with a Nigerian accent that made Zara's heart skip. "I need to speak with you about your husband." Zara's protective instincts flared. "He's done nothing wrong. We're living clean now." Detective Okonkwo's expression softened. "I'm not here to arrest him, Mrs. Kang. I'm here to warn you. May I come in?" Over tea in the living room, the detective laid out a disturbing picture. Dimitri was under federal investigation for his past activities, but more importantly, there was evidence that Vaughn Meredith hadn't been working alone. "We believe there was a partner, someone close to your husband, who orchestrated everything from the inside." Zara's hands trembled around her cup. "Who?" The detective hesitated. "We don't know yet. But Mrs. Kang, there's something else." She pulled out an old photograph yellowed with age. 2 little girls, no more than 3 years old, holding hands in front of an orphanage in Lagos. "Do you recognize this?" Zara's breath caught. "That's me. I remember that day. They told me my sister had been adopted by a different family." The detective's eyes welled with tears. "I've been searching for you for 20 years, Zara. I'm your sister." The world tilted. Zara stared at this stranger who carried her same nose, her same determined jaw, her same restless spirit in her eyes. Sarah continued, voice thick with emotion. "I became a detective to find you. When your husband's case crossed my desk and I saw your name, I knew. We don't have much time. Something big is coming, and I need you to trust me." Before Zara could respond, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. A video attachment. Her hands shook as she opened it. The screen showed Amara, bound to a chair in a dark room, tears streaming down her face. A distorted voice spoke over the image. "Dimitri Kang has 48 hours to turn himself in to authorities and confess to every crime he's ever committed. If he doesn't, I'll kill his daughter." Zara's scream brought Sarah running. They had to call Dimitri immediately. The penthouse became a war room within an hour. Dimitri paced like a caged tiger, his carefully constructed peace shattered. Zuri clung to Zara, sobbing for her sister. Sarah worked her contacts, trying to trace the video's origin. Then Dimitri's phone rang. A familiar voice, one that should have been impossible. "Hello, old friend." Dimitri's face went white. "Gregor? You're dead. I watched them bury you." A cold laugh echoed through the speaker. "You watched them bury a body, yes, but not mine. Did you really think I'd be so easy to kill?" Rage and confusion warred in Dimitri's expression. "Why? Why fake your death? Why take my daughter?" "Because your father took everything from me," Gregor hissed, his voice cracking with old pain. "I loved your mother, Dimitri. We were going to run away together, start a new life. But your father found out. He killed her and made it look like an accident. You've lived in luxury built on her grave, and I've spent 20 years planning this revenge. Dimitri's knees nearly buckled. My mother's death wasn't an accident. You're insane. Gregor's laugh turned bitter. I'm the only sane one in this story. You have 48 hours. Turn yourself in, destroy everything your father built, rot in prison for life, or I'll make sure you bury your child the way I had to bury my dreams. The line went dead. Zara grabbed Dimitri's arm. We'll find another way. We'll find her. Sarah stepped forward. I might know someone who can help, but you're not going to like it. An hour later, Iris walked through the door. Zara lunged for her, but Dimitri held her back. What is she doing here? Zara demanded. Sarah raised her hands. Iris reached out to me. She says she knows where Gregor is hiding. Iris looked smaller somehow, her designer clothes replaced with simple jeans and a sweater. Her eyes were red-rimmed. I know you have no reason to trust me, she began, her voice shaking, but I need to make this right. Gregor contacted me 2 weeks ago. He wanted my help again, but I refused. I've been tracking him since then. I know where he's keeping Amara. Dimitri stepped forward, his voice deadly quiet. If this is another trick, if you're working with him, I will end you myself. Iris met his gaze steadily. I deserve that. But that little girl doesn't deserve to die because of my mistakes. The address is an old textile factory in Incheon. He's there with at least 5 men. She pulled out her phone, showing surveillance photos she'd taken. Dimitri studied the images, his tactical mind already forming a plan. Sarah shook her head. We need to call this in. Get back up. No time, Dimitri said flatly. 48 hours might as well be 48 minutes. If Gregor suspects police involvement, he'll kill her immediately. We go now. We go quiet. The textile factory loomed against the night sky like a monument to decay. Broken windows gaped like missing teeth, rust bleeding down concrete walls. Dimitri had called in favors from the few loyal men he had left. They approached in darkness, weapons ready. Sarah insisted on coming, her detective's badge left behind. Zara refused to stay home. These are my daughters, she'd said with steel in her voice. I'm not waiting in safety while one of them suffers. Inside, the factory was a maze of abandoned machinery and shadows. They moved in silence, hand signals guiding them deeper. Then they heard it. A child's whimper echoing through the vast space. Amara. They found her in what used to be the supervisor's office. She was tied to a chair, a single lamp illuminating her tear-stained face. But something was wrong. The room was too empty, too quiet. It's a trap, Dimitri whispered, but it was too late. Lights blazed on, blinding them. Armed men emerged from every shadow. And in the center of it all stood Gregor, older but still carrying the military bearing Dimitri remembered. Next to him, her hand in his, stood Iris. Zara's gasp of betrayal echoed through the factory. Iris's expression was unreadable, but she didn't let go of Gregor's hand. Did you really think it would be that easy? Gregor asked, his voice almost amused. Did you think I'd work alone after Vaughan's failure? Iris has been with me from the beginning. Saving your children was my idea, Iris said quietly. I needed you to trust me, to believe I'd changed. So when the time came, you'd walk right into this. Dimitri's mind raced, calculating odds, exits, possibilities. All of them ended in blood. Gregor circled them slowly. Your father destroyed my life, Dimitri. He took the woman I loved and built an empire on lies and murder. You inherited that empire, enjoyed its fruits. Now you'll pay its debt. What do you want? Dimitri's voice was steady despite the guns trained on them. Your complete destruction, Gregor replied simply. I want you to watch everything you love die before I kill you, starting with her. He gestured to Amara, and one of his men pressed a gun to the child's head. No! Zara's scream tore through the factory. Wait. Sarah stepped forward, her detective's training keeping her voice calm. Gregor, I know what Dimitri's father did to you was unforgivable, but these children are innocent. They had nothing to do with crimes committed before they were born. Gregor's expression flickered. Who are you? I'm someone who understands loss, Sarah said softly. I was separated from my sister for 20 years. 20 years of not knowing if she was alive or dead, if she was happy or suffering. I found her again only to watch her walk into this nightmare. You loved Dimitri's mother. Would she want you to murder children in her name? For a moment, something human crossed Gregor's face. Then it hardened again. Don't speak of her. You know nothing. I know that revenge is a poison, Sarah continued. It destroys the person seeking it more than their target. You've spent 20 years planning this, but what happens after? When Dimitri is dead and these children are gone, will you finally have peace? Or will you just be empty? Shut up, Gregor snapped, but his hand trembled slightly. Dimitri seized the moment of doubt. Gregor, my father was a monster. I know that now. I've spent years trying to undo the damage he caused, trying to be different. If you want me to pay for his sins, fine. Let them go, and I'll give you whatever justice you need. Gregor laughed bitterly. You think you're different. You're exactly like him. The only reason you want to change is because you fell in love, had children. But the blood on your hands doesn't wash off just because you decide to play house. He's right, Dimitri said quietly, and the admission seemed to drain all the fight from him. I'm not innocent. I've hurt people, destroyed lives. If my death brings you peace, take it. But please, God, please let my family go. The factory fell silent except for Amara's soft crying. Iris's face had gone pale, her hand slipping from Gregor's. Gregor, she whispered, this has gone far enough. He turned on her. You said you wanted revenge? You blamed them for your humiliation. Now you're going soft? I wanted to hurt them, yes, Iris admitted, tears streaming down her face. I wanted Zara to feel the pain I felt. But listening to him beg for his child's life, she looked at Dimitri with something like understanding. I realized I was never angry at them. I was angry at myself for not being enough, for letting my prejudices poison everything good in my life. Gregor's gun swung toward Iris. You're betraying me now? After everything? No, a small voice rang out. Everyone's heads snapped around. Zuri stood in the doorway they'd entered through, having slipped away from the vehicle where they'd left her. She walked forward with the fearless certainty only a child possesses. Don't hurt anyone else, please. Zuri, Zara breathed, her heart stopping. Baby, go back. Zuri ignored her, walking straight to Gregor. She looked up at him with those impossibly dark eyes. You look sad, she said simply, like you've been crying for a really long time. Gregor stared down at this tiny girl, who should have been terrified, but instead looked at him with pure compassion. My daddy says that people who hurt others are usually hurting inside themselves. Are you hurting? Something broke in Gregor's expression. He looked at this child who had her father's features, but her mother's gentle spirit, and for a moment he saw not his enemy, but simply a little girl trying to understand why grown-ups did terrible things. His voice cracked. Yes, I'm hurting. Then you should let us help you, Zuri said, reaching for his hand. My daddy's really good at fixing things. Maybe he can help fix what's broken. The gun in Gregor's hand lowered. His men looked uncertain, waiting for orders that didn't come. Gregor's eyes filled with tears as decades of rage and grief finally found a crack in his armor. She would have hated this, he whispered. She would have hated what I've become. Zuri tugged his hand. Then stop being this person. Be someone she would be proud of instead. The gun clattered to the floor. What happened next was chaos. Gregor's men, seeing their leader break down, lowered their weapons in confusion. Dimitri moved instantly, rushing to Amara and cutting her bonds. Sarah secured the gunman with zip ties she'd brought. Iris collapsed against a wall, sobbing. But it was Gregor's surrender that stunned them all. He sank to his knees in front of Zuri, this child who'd somehow done what violence never could, broken through to his humanity. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry. In the aftermath, as police sirens wailed in the distance, Sarah held Gregor at gunpoint while Dmitri gathered his daughters. Zara wrapped her arms around all three of them, her body shaking with relief and residual terror. Iris approached slowly, hands raised. "I know I can't fix what I've done," she said quietly. "But for what it's worth, I'm sorry. I'll testify to everything. Help put this right." Zara looked at her for a long moment, then, with tremendous effort, nodded. "Thank you for that, at least." As police flooded the factory, Sarah approached Dmitri. "There's a deal I can offer you. Full testimony against every criminal organization you have information on. In exchange, immunity from prosecution. You help us take down the real monsters. And you get to keep your family." Dmitri didn't hesitate. "Where do I sign?" 3 months later, the courtroom was packed as Gregor faced sentencing. He'd pled guilty to kidnapping, conspiracy, and a dozen other charges. But he'd also provided evidence that cracked open cold cases going back decades, including the truth about Dmitri's mother's murder and the corruption in his father's empire. The judge looked down at the broken man before her. "Mr. Kim, you've committed serious crimes driven by tragic circumstances. However, your cooperation and genuine remorse have been noted. I'm sentencing you to 15 years in prison with the possibility of parole in 7. May you find the peace you've been seeking." As they led him away, Gregor caught Dmitri's eye. One word passed between them, mouthed silently. "Sorry." Dmitri nodded once. Forgiveness was a long road, but perhaps they could both walk it. Iris received 5 years for her role, serving her sentence with the quiet dignity of someone who'd finally stopped running from herself. The real revelation came during the trials. Sarah's investigation uncovered that Dmitri's father had been part of a massive criminal conspiracy that spanned 3 countries. With Dmitri's testimony, dozens of corrupt officials and crime bosses fell. The Kim Triad's empire was dismantled completely, but Dmitri and his family were free. 1 year later, Lagos, Nigeria welcomed them home. Not to Seoul, but to Zara's birthplace, where they could start fresh without the ghosts of the past haunting every corner. They'd used what legitimate money remained to open a non-profit organization, Finding Home. It specialized in reuniting families separated by adoption, trafficking, or circumstance. Sarah, who'd taken a leave of absence from the police force, ran the Lagos branch with fierce dedication. The offices were bright and welcoming, filled with photos of successful reunions. Zara worked as a counselor, helping others navigate the complex emotions of finding lost family. Dmitri surprisingly discovered a talent for the investigative work, using his old network contacts for good instead of crime. And the twins? They thrived. Amara became the serious one, already talking about becoming a lawyer to help people like their parents. Zuri remained the heart of the family, making friends everywhere they went, seeing the good in everyone. On their first anniversary in Lagos, as the sun set over the city in brilliant oranges and purples, the family gathered on their apartment balcony. Sarah joined them, bringing the latest update on successful reunions. Dmitri pulled Zara close, watching their daughters play. "We made it," he said softly. "Against everything, we actually made it." Zara leaned into him. "We did. And we're not just survivors anymore. We're actually happy." He kissed her forehead. "I spent years building an empire of fear. Turns out building a family of love is harder but infinitely more rewarding." The twins ran over, demanding attention. They sandwiched themselves between their parents, and Sarah snapped a photo. This moment, this imperfect, beautiful, hard-won moment of peace. Later that night, after the twins were asleep and Sarah had gone home, Dmitri found Zara standing in the nursery doorway watching their daughters sleep. "Zara," he said quietly, "I need to tell you something." She turned, concerned by his tone. "What is it?" "I never thanked you properly for saving my life that night, for taking that bullet, for choosing me when you had every reason to run." Zara crossed to him, taking his hands. You gave me a family when I thought I'd lost everything. You gave our daughters a father who loves them fiercely. You chose us over your empire, your revenge, everything. We saved each other, Dimitri. That's what love does. They held each other in the doorway of their daughter's room, two people who'd found each other in the worst circumstances and somehow built something beautiful from the wreckage. And that, dear viewers, is where our story ends. Not with a dramatic showdown or a tragic sacrifice, but with the quiet triumph of choosing love over revenge, healing over hatred, family over empire. Zara and Dimitri's journey from a one-night stand to a family that survived the impossible proves that sometimes the most powerful love stories are the ones that shouldn't have worked but did anyway. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through all 4 episodes. Your support, your comments, your investment in these characters has meant everything to us. If you enjoyed this series, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who love stories about love conquering all odds. Drop a comment telling us your favourite moment from the entire series and let us know where you're watching from. We have more Afro-Korean tales coming soon, more stories of love crossing cultures and overcoming impossible obstacles. Until then, remember that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about who shows up, who stays, and who chooses you when the world says you don't belong together. This is Afro-Korean Tales, reminding you to keep believing in love that transforms, heals, and endures. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next story.